The palace looked calm from the outside, but inside, something felt wrong. The long halls were quiet, yet the silence was heavy, like a warning that no one could see. Late in the evening, soft crying echoed from one of the private rooms. It was Princess Charlotte. Her cries were not loud, but they were full of fear. Anyone who heard them could feel pain in their heart. Kate sat beside her daughter's bed, gently holding her small hand. Charlotte's face was red from crying, and her eyes were swollen with tears. Kate tried everything to comfort her. She spoke in a soft voice, telling warm stories, brushing Charlotte's hair slowly, and singing her favorite lullaby. Still, Charlotte did not calm down. She shook slightly and kept looking toward the door as if she was afraid someone might come in. Kate felt a deep fear grow inside her. As a mother, she could sense when something was truly wrong. This was not a normal child's sadness. Charlotte was scared, deeply scared. Kate leaned closer and whispered that she was safe, that no one could hurt her. Charlotte slowly hugged her mother's arm but did not stop crying. Outside the room, palace staff moved quietly, careful not to disturb the night. One royal guard stood near the corner of the hallway. He had worked in the palace for many years. He had seen celebrations, arguments, joy, and pain. Tonight, he noticed something different. The sound of Charlotte's crying reached his ears, and it did not sound normal. It stayed the same for a long time, without stopping. The guard felt uneasy. Children cry, but this cry carried fear. He stood still, alert, wondering if he should inform someone. Still, he followed palace rules and remained at his post, watching and listening. Inside the room, Kate finally helped Charlotte fall asleep. The little girl's hands were still tight, holding onto her mother's sleeve, even in sleep. Kate stayed beside her, watching her chest rise and fall slowly. Only then did Kate allow herself to think clearly. Kate's mind went back to earlier that day. She remembered how Charlotte had been happy in the morning, laughing and playing. But after a certain visit, everything changed. After Camilla spent time with Charlotte, the child became quiet. She stopped smiling and stayed close to Kate. At the time, Kate told herself not to overthink. But now, the memory felt heavy. Kate stood up quietly and walked toward the window. She looked outside at the dark sky. Her heart was full of questions. What happened when she was not there? What words were said to her little girl? Kate did not want to accuse anyone without proof, but a mother's heart does not lie easily. The next morning, the palace woke as usual. Sunlight filled the halls, and staff began their work. But Kate felt tired. She had barely slept. Charlotte woke up holding Kate's hand again, her eyes wide and nervous. She refused to be alone even for a moment. At breakfast, Charlotte barely touched the food. She sat close to Kate, her body tense. Kate noticed Camilla enter the room. The moment Charlotte saw her, she lowered her head and held Kate's arm tighter. This small movement did not go unnoticed. Kate stayed calm on the outside, but inside, her heart was beating fast. She watched Camilla carefully. Camilla smiled politely, speaking kindly to others, acting normal. But Charlotte did not look up. Her small fingers trembled. Later that day, Kate took Charlotte to the garden, hoping fresh air would help. Charlotte usually loved the garden, but today she stayed quiet. Kate knelt beside her and asked gently what was wrong. At first, Charlotte said nothing. Then she shook her head and said she was tired. Kate did not push. She knew forcing word from a child only brings more fear. As they walked back inside, Kate saw the same royal guard standing nearby. Their eyes met for a brief moment. Something in his expression told Kate he was also worried. She looked away quickly, but the thought stayed with her. That evening, Charlotte began crying again. The sound was the same as the night before. Kate felt her chest tighten. This could not continue. She needed answers, and she needed help, but she could not speak openly. The palace was full of ears. After Charlotte finally slept, Kate made a difficult decision. She would secretly speak to the guard she had noticed. He was always near, always watching. She trusted her instinct. Late at night, when the halls were nearly empty, Kate walked quietly through a side corridor. Her heart pounded with every step. She knew this meeting was risky. If anyone saw her, questions would be asked. Still, her daughter's safety mattered more than palace rules. The guard stood near a side door, as planned. When he saw Kate, he straightened quickly. He looked surprised but respectful. Kate spoke in a low voice, asking if they could talk privately for a moment. The guard hesitated but nodded. He led her to a quiet corner where no one could hear them. Kate took a deep breath. She told him about Charlotte's crying and fear. She asked if he had seen anything unusual. The guard listened closely, his face serious. After a moment, he spoke carefully. He said that earlier he had seen Camilla with Charlotte alone. He did not hear clear words, but he saw Charlotte's face change. The child looked frightened. Hearing this made Kate's heart sink. She thanked the guard for his honesty. She asked him to watch closely and protect Charlotte if needed. The guard promised he would. His voice was firm. He had his own sense of duty, and it did not allow harm to children. They ended the meeting quickly. Kate returned to her room, her mind full of worry and anger. She looked at Charlotte sleeping peacefully for the moment. Kate touched her daughter's head gently and whispered a promise that she would never let anyone scare her again. The next morning, the palace woke slowly, but Kate was already awake. She had not slept well. Her mind kept replaying the quiet meeting with the guard and the fear in Charlotte's eyes. She sat on the edge of the bed, watching her daughter sleep. Charlotte's face looked calm now, but Kate knew this calm was fragile. When Charlotte woke up, she did not smile. She reached for Kate at once, wrapping her arms around her mother's neck. Kate held her tightly, feeling how small and delicate she was. She whispered gentle words, telling her that everything was fine. Charlotte nodded, but her eyes still showed worry. Kate decided to keep Charlotte close all day. She canceled small duties and stayed with her. They walked together through safe parts of the palace, always with staff nearby. Still, Charlotte jumped at sudden sounds and kept looking behind her. Each time Kate noticed this, her heart hurt more. Camilla appeared later that day during a small family gathering. Her voice was calm, her smile polite. To others, she looked the same as always. But Kate watched carefully. She noticed how Camilla's eyes followed Charlotte, even when she spoke to someone else. When Camilla stepped closer, Charlotte moved behind Kate without a word. Kate felt anger rise, but she controlled it. She knew that showing emotion too soon could make things worse. She placed her hand gently on Charlotte's back, a silent sign of protection. The royal guard from the night before was nearby, standing still, watching everything. His eyes moved often toward Charlotte and Camilla. He remembered the promise he had made to Kate. His duty felt heavier now, not just as a guard, but as a human being. Later in the afternoon, Kate took Charlotte to a quiet sitting room. Sunlight came through the tall windows, warming the space. Kate sat on the floor with Charlotte, playing a simple game. Slowly, Charlotte began to relax. Kate waited for the right moment. She did not rush. She let silence do its work. After some time, Kate spoke softly. She asked Charlotte if someone had said something that made her sad. Charlotte stayed quiet at first. She played with her toy, her small hand shaking slightly. Kate stayed calm and patient. She told Charlotte she was safe and loved, no matter what. Finally, Charlotte spoke in a small voice. She said Camilla told her that children who do not listen can be sent away. She said Camilla talked about rules and punishment in a scary way. Charlotte did not fully understand the words, but the feeling stayed with her. She thought she might lose her family. Kate felt tears fill her eyes, but she did not cry. She hugged Charlotte close and told her clearly that no one had the power to take her away. She explained that sometimes adults say wrong things. Charlotte listened carefully, her breathing slowly calming. That evening, William returned and noticed a change in the air. He saw how Charlotte stayed close to Kate and how Kate looked tired. Later, when Charlotte was asleep, Kate spoke to William in private. She told him everything, slowly and carefully. She did not shout or accuse. She shared facts, feelings, and fears. William listened quietly. His face became serious. He trusted Kate completely. He agreed that Charlotte's fear could not be ignored. He said they needed to protect their child without causing a public conflict. The palace was not just a home. It was a place of power, where every action had results. They agreed to watch closely and gather truth. William also agreed that the guard who spoke to Kate should stay close to Charlotte. This decision brought Kate some peace. Over the next few days, the guard became a silent shield. He was always nearby, never too close, never too far. Charlotte began to notice him and felt safe when she saw him. Sometimes she even waved at him. The guard felt proud and protective. Camilla noticed the change too. She saw how Charlotte was never alone and how Kate watched everything. The smile stayed, but the air felt tense. Conversations became careful. Small moments felt heavy. One afternoon, Camilla tried to speak to Charlotte again. Kate was only a few steps away. Charlotte froze. Before Camilla could say much, the guard stepped forward politely, saying it was time for Charlotte to return to her lessons. His voice was calm, but firm. Camilla paused, surprised. She nodded and stepped back. Kate felt her heart race, but she stayed calm. She thanked the guard with a small look. The guard returned to his place, his duty clear. That night, Charlotte slept without crying for the first time in days. Kate sat beside her bed, feeling both relief and sadness. She knew fear does not disappear in one night. It fades slowly, with love and safety. Kate also knew that the palace would not stay quiet forever. Truth is a way of rising, even when buried. She wondered how long this careful balance could last. In another part of the palace, Camilla sat alone, thinking. She did not see herself as cruel. She believed in control and discipline. But she did not understand how words could cut deeper than actions. She felt watched now, and she did not like it. The palace stood tall under the night sky, lights glowing softly behind thick walls. To the world, it was a place of tradition and strength. Inside, it was a place of quiet battles, of mothers protecting children, and of promises made in silence. Kate looked out the window once more before resting. She placed a gentle kiss on Charlotte's forehead and whispered again that she was safe. The guard took his position for the night, alert and ready. Short walks, reading before sleep. These small things helped Charlotte feel steady again. Charlotte slowly smiled more, but fear still lived inside her. Sometimes she stopped speaking mid-sentence. Sometimes she woke up at night and looked around the room as if checking for danger. Each time, Kate was there. She held her, spoke softly, and reminded her she was loved. The guard kept his promise. He stayed alert and respectful. He watched without staring, listened without being seen. Other staff noticed his careful attention, but no one questioned it. He had a clean record and strong discipline. His loyalty was trusted. One afternoon, a small royal event took place inside the palace. It was meant to be simple and private. Family members gathered in a large room filled with light. Charlotte held Kate's hand tightly as they entered. Kate felt her daughter's grip and slowed her steps to match Charlotte's pace. Camilla was already there, speaking calmly with others. When she saw Charlotte, she smiled and stepped forward. The smile looked kind, but Charlotte stiffened at once. Kate noticed it immediately. She gently pulled Charlotte closer, placing herself between her daughter and Camilla. Camilla paused. For a brief moment, her smile faded. Then it returned, controlled and polite. She spoke about the weather, about plans, about nothing important. But the silence between her and Kate felt heavy. The guard stood near the doorway. His eyes followed every move. He noticed how Camilla leaned slightly toward Charlotte, how Charlotte leaned away. He stayed ready, calm but firm. During the gathering, Charlotte suddenly began to cry again. The sound was sharp and sudden. All conversation stopped. Kate knelt down at once, holding her daughter. Charlotte buried her face into Kate's shoulder, shaking. Kate felt anger rise like fire, but she did not show it. She stood up and calmly said Charlotte needed rest. William agreed without question. They left the room together. No one tried to stop them. Later that evening, Kate spoke to a trusted palace counselor. She explained Charlotte's fear in simple words. She did not name anyone directly, but she described the changes in Charlotte's behavior. The counselor listened carefully and agreed that emotional harm could be just as serious as physical harm, especially for a child. This conversation gave Kate strength. She realized she was not alone. There were others who would listen if she spoke wisely. The next day, Charlotte asked a question that stopped Kate's heart. She asked if she was bad. Kate knelt down and looked into her eyes. She said clearly and firmly that Charlotte was good, loved, and safe. She told her that no one had the right to scare her. Charlotte listened closely, as if these words were fixing something broken inside. That night, Kate wrote down everything she remembered. Times, places, small details. She did this quietly, carefully. She knew memory fades, but words stay. The guard also shared his observations with a senior officer he trusted. He spoke with respect and care, not accusation. He described what he had seen and how the child reacted. The officer listened and told him he did the right thing by staying alert. Slowly, the palace began to shift. Nothing was said openly, but rules became clearer. Children were not left alone without trusted adults. Conversations became more careful. The atmosphere changed, like air before rain. Camilla felt it. She noticed doors closing softly. She noticed guards stepping in sooner. She noticed Kate's steady gaze. For the first time, she felt unsure. She believed in authority, but she did not expect resistance as quiet and strong. One evening, Camilla asked to speak with Kate privately. Kate agreed, but only with William nearby and the door open. The meeting was short and polite. Camilla spoke about misunderstandings and intentions. Kate listened without arguing. She spoke only about Charlotte's feelings and safety. No blame, just facts. The meeting ended without peace, but with boundaries. That night, Charlotte slept peacefully. The crying did not return. Kate sat beside her bed and felt a deep mix of relief and resolve. She knew the danger was not fully gone, but the ground was stronger now. The guard took his place again, standing tall. He understood something important had changed. Protecting the royal family was not only about walls and rules. It was about listening, noticing, and acting with courage. Outside, the palace stood quiet under stars. Inside, a child felt safer. A mother felt stronger. And a truth, once whispered, was now impossible to ignore. The palace entered a strange phase after the quiet meeting between Kate and Camilla. On the outside, everything looked normal. Smiles were shown. Greetings were polite. But inside, everyone felt the change. It was like walking on thin ice. One wrong step could break the calm. Kate stayed strong. She followed her routine, but her eyes were always alert. She watched Charlotte closely. She watched the people around her. A mother's heart does not rest when a child has been hurt, even if the pain came from words and not hands. Charlotte was slowly becoming herself again. She laughed at small things. She played with her toys. But sometimes, fear returned without warning. A shadow on the wall, a raised voice, or a sudden movement could make her freeze. When that happened, Kate held her and reminded her that she was safe. William also became more involved. He changed his schedule to spend more time with his children. He wanted Charlotte to feel strong, not weak. He played games with her, read stories, and spoke to her in calm, steady words. His presence helped. The guard noticed this change too. He saw how William stood closer, how Kate never left Charlotte alone. He felt proud to serve a family that chose protection over pride. One afternoon, a private royal lunch was arranged. Only close family members were present. Kate did not want Charlotte to attend, but Charlotte insisted. She said she was brave. Kate agreed, but only under one condition. The guard would stay nearby at all times. As they entered the dining room, Charlotte held Kate's hand tightly. Her steps were slow, careful. Kate smiled gently at her, giving her strength. William walked on the other side, forming a quiet shield around their daughter. Camilla was already seated. She greeted them calmly. Her voice was smooth, but her eyes studied Charlotte closely. Charlotte noticed and looked away. Kate placed her hand gently on Charlotte's back. During the meal, Camilla spoke often. She talked about discipline, tradition, and rules. Her words were not harsh, but the meaning behind them felt cold. Kate listened carefully. She did not argue. She only watched Charlotte's reaction. Charlotte stopped eating. She stared at her plate, her shoulders tense. Kate knew that this was not safe. She quietly asked Charlotte if she wanted to leave. Charlotte nodded quickly. Kate stood and excused herself politely. William followed. No one stopped them. The guard stepped forward at once, opening the door. As they left, Kate felt eyes on her back, but she did not turn around. Later that evening, Charlotte asked Kate a difficult question. She asked why some adults use words that hurt. Kate took a deep breath. She explained in simple terms that sometimes people think control is more important than kindness. She told Charlotte that this way of thinking is wrong. Charlotte listened carefully, her small face serious. That night, Charlotte had a bad dream. She cried out in her sleep. Kate woke at once and held her. Charlotte said she dreamed she was lost in the palace and no one came to help her. Kate hugged her tightly and said she would always come. no matter what. The next morning, Kate made an important decision. She asked for a formal review of child safety within the palace. She framed it as a general concern, not a personal attack. She spoke calmly, using facts and examples without names. Some people were surprised. Others nodded quietly. They had noticed things too, but were afraid to speak. Kate's calm courage gave them strength. New rules were discussed. Children would never be spoken to alone without permission. Guards would be allowed to step in if a child looked afraid. Emotional safety would be taken seriously, not ignored. Camilla was informed of these changes. Her face remained calm, but inside, she felt challenged. She believed she was being judged. She felt her authority slipping. But she could not fight openly without looking wrong. The guard felt the shift clearly. His role was now supported, not silent. He no longer felt alone in his concern. He stood taller, knowing his actions mattered. One evening, the guard saw Charlotte running down the hallway, laughing. Kate walked behind her, smiling. For the first time in many days, Charlotte looked free. The guard felt relief wash over him. But not everyone was at peace. Camilla sat alone in her private room that night. She thought about her past, her struggles, and her beliefs. She did not see herself as cruel. She believed children needed fear to obey. But now, she saw fear turning into distance. And distance felt like loss. The palace counselor requested a private meeting with Camilla. The talk was respectful but firm. They spoke about emotional harm, about modern understanding, about children's minds. Camilla listened but did not fully agree. Still, she understood that change was no longer a choice. It was happening. The days that followed were quieter. Charlotte no longer cried at night. She slept peacefully, holding her favorite toy. Kate finally allowed herself to rest a little. William thanked the guard personally one evening. He did not speak loudly or formally. He simply said, "You did the right thing." Those words meant more than any medal. Kate stood at the window later that night, watching the lights outside the palace. She felt tired but strong. She knew this battle was not loud or dramatic. It was slow and careful. But it was real. She whispered another promise to herself. She would always listen. She would always protect, even if it meant standing alone. The palace felt different now. The air was lighter, but not fully at peace. Changes had been made, rules had been spoken, and lines had been drawn. Still, everyone knew that the hardest part was not over. Real change is tested with time. Kate noticed a difference first in Charlotte's laughter. It sounded more free, more real. Charlotte ran through the halls again, not fast with fear, but fast with joy. She spoke more. She asked questions. She slept without holding Kate's hand every night. These were small signs, but to a mother, they meant everything. Kate stayed careful. She did not relax fully. She knew fear can return if it is ignored. She stayed close, but not tight. She wanted Charlotte to feel safe, not trapped. William continued to support Kate quietly. He spoke with palace leaders and senior staff, always calm, always firm. He made it clear that emotional safety was not a weak idea. It was a strong one. Slowly, people listened. The guard noticed that other guards began to act differently too. They watched children with more care. They stepped in sooner when they saw fear. The guard felt proud. What started as one quiet promise had grown into shared duty. One afternoon, Charlotte was invited to a small art activity with other children visiting the palace. Kate watched from a distance. Charlotte laughed, painted, and shared her colors. Her face was bright. The guard stood nearby, relaxed but alert. Camilla arrived later than planned. When she entered the room, Charlotte noticed her. For a moment, fear flickered across her face. Kate felt her heart stop, but then something new happened. Charlotte took a step back, then stood straight. She did not cry. She did not hide. She simply moved closer to Kate and stayed calm. Kate smiled gently at her. This small moment showed how far Charlotte had come. Camilla watched this carefully. She saw that her presence no longer held power over the child. The fear was fading, and that made her feel something she did not expect. Not anger, but loss. Later that day, Camilla requested a meeting with William and Kate. This time, the request was different. It was not formal or cold. It was quiet. The meeting took place in a neutral room, with light coming through tall windows. The guard waited outside. Kate sat calmly, her posture strong. William stayed beside her. Camilla spoke slowly. She admitted that her words may have caused fear. She said she believed in strict guidance, but she now understood that fear does not teach love. Her voice was not emotional, but it was honest. Kate listened carefully. She did not interrupt. When Camilla finished, Kate spoke softly. She said children remember how words make them feel, even when they forget the words themselves. She said Charlotte needed kindness, not pressure. William added that a family must move forward with trust, not control. The meeting ended without apology, but with understanding. That was enough for now. After the meeting, Camilla kept her distance, not out of anger, but out of respect. She spoke to Charlotte only when Kate or William were present. Her tone was gentle. Charlotte slowly accepted this change. Days turned into weeks. The palace found a new rhythm. Conversations became warmer. Children were treated with more care. The old tension did not vanish completely, but it no longer ruled the space. The guard was reassigned to a visible role near the children's area. This was not a punishment. It was a sign of trust. He accepted the role with pride. One evening, Charlotte asked Kate a question that made her smile. She asked if brave people could still feel scared. Kate said yes. Being brave does not mean never feeling fear. It means knowing you are not alone when fear comes. Charlotte nodded seriously. She said she felt brave now. That night, Kate watched Charlotte sleep peacefully. No tears, no fear, just calm breathing and soft dreams. Kate finally allowed herself to cry quietly, not from sadness, but from relief. William stood beside her, his hand on her shoulder. They said nothing. They did not need words. In another part of the palace, Camilla sat alone again. But this time, her thoughts were different. She did not feel pushed away. She felt changed. She understood that power without care creates distance, and distance leads to silence. The guard ended his shift that night feeling something he had not felt before. Purpose. He had not raised his voice. He had not broken rules. Yet, he had helped protect a child. That was enough. The palace stood tall under the night sky, unchanged in stone but changed in spirit. What began as fear ended as strength. What began as silence became action.